Yo guys, so we are back on our weekly stock pick. I'm so sorry guys that we are 10 minutes late, but rest assured we have good values for all of you out there staying live with us. So today, as usual, we have our dear trade engineer here with us to actually help us dissect a very interesting stock. First and foremost, if you guys can hear us, please do like this poll so that we know that you guys can hear us loud and clear. Right? Otherwise, you'll be like, are we being heard? Is there any like I don't know, audio issues and stuff like that? So please do like this post so that we know that you can hear us loud and clear, right? So without further ado, let me just invite our trade engineer to actually go through with us a very interesting stock that we are going to talk about today. So trade engineer, please.
All right. Thanks, FINANCIAlmissy for the introduction. Right. So as what FINANCIAlmissy mentioned, right? I think we haven't reviewed what's the stock we're talking about, right? So
Yeah.
we are actually going to talk about this very big stock, right? I'm sure every one of you will have heard of it. It is none other than Google, right? Or otherwise, actually, it's now known as Alphabet. Like its parent company is Alphabet. Yep. So that is the stock we're going to talk about for today. Yeah, yep. So whether this stock actually presents opportunities now, right? Because it has corrected quite a fair bit, right? In the recent time. So some of you might be enticed to actually enter now, right? Because this is often seen as a very good and stable stock. Yep. So without further ado, right? Let me start sharing my screen. Yep. All right. Yep. So today we are going to talk about Google, right? So specifically, right, Google, or Alphabet has actually corrected by about 20% in this 1 month, right? Since April, start of April till now, right? Now to the 1st of May. So what's next, right? What's next for Alphabet? And should you actually start to enter now? Right, but before I begin, right, if you are here with us live, do give this video a thumbs up or a like, right, so that I know that you are here live with us. And as always, before we start on the session proper, right, let's do a quick analysis, right, of our past or previous stock pick. Right. So for our previous stock pick, right, we were talking about Netflix, right? And if you haven't checked out already, do check out our last week video for more details, right, of our sharing. Right. So here's just a quick recap, right, to jog everyone's memory on what we talked about for Netflix last week. So I specifically mentioned 5 things to watch out for Netflix, right? And this was posted as well on my TikTok channel. Right, so you can follow me there on my TikTok channel to get more details. So let's quickly play this quick recap video, right, to see what are the things that I mentioned last week. So the 5 things I mentioned, for Netflix, right? First of all, on the monthly chart, right, we are looking at this, this uptrend line, right? So this uptrend line, was tested for quite some time, right? Yep. So it was, testing this line yet again. Right. We look at the hourly chart. Right. We zoom in on the hourly chart. Right. There was this downtrend line. Right. This short-term downtrend line. It was acting as an immediate resistance. Right. Yeah. Additionally, right, it was also testing that horizontal support. Right. That short-term horizontal support at 210 to 212 US dollars. And we did see some bullish divergence, right, with lower lows in the price and higher lows in the RSI. Right, and the 5th thing that I mentioned was the MACD on the hourly chart, right? It actually turned positive, right? So that was also something that was pretty bullish in that sense on the short term basis. There's no sound here because the sound, if I play the sound, it would there will be some copyright issues, right? So if you want to listen to the full video, you can go on down to my TikTok channel, right, at The Trade Engineer, right, to actually watch the full video with the sound. Yeah, so moving on, right? So if that was a bit too quick for you, right, I'll quickly do a quick recap here as well for Netflix, right? So we did mention about this uptrend line, right? So at that time, right, the previous week on Sunday, right, that we talked about this, right? We did mention that it was about to test this line, right? They have been supported since 2012. And if it breaks below this line, right, convincingly, that might imply the start of a new downtrend, right? But if it is supported, right, this could also imply that there could be a bounce in prices, right, and the uptrend still remains. And on a short-term basis, right, we talk about this downtrend line, right? And it was tested. It seems like going to break past this downtrend line at that time, right? But we weren't quite sure because you're still trading below this downtrend line, right? So we did mention that if it clears this downtrend line convincingly, right, we could see some short-term rebound in price. The horizontal support, right? The horizontal support as well, right? It's $210 to $212, right? There was an immediate support on the hourly chart, right? On the short-term basis. So if it remains supported, right? Prices might bounce back up, right? If not, if it breaks, right? You will see more downside, right? For Netflix, at least on the short-term basis. And we did mention about the RSI, right? The RSI, lower lows in prices and higher lows in the RSI, right? So that was some sort of bullish divergence on the short-term basis, right? This could imply some bottoming out in the short term. And MACD was also positive as well, right? So it could also indicate a possible rebound, right? At least in the short term. So this is what we concluded on the bull and bear sides of things for Netflix, right? So on the bull side, right, it was still trading above that long-term uptrend line, right? Although it was testing it, and it looked like going to break past that short-term downtrend line, right? It's supported by a short-term horizontal support, as well as we saw some bullish divergence and positive MACD, right, on the hourly time basis. However, on the bear side of things, right, we weren't sure whether that short-term or long-term support will actually hold convincingly. And there was that negative news surrounding Netflix, right? Because it actually crashed, whopping 35%, right? That's what we mentioned last week, right? So when you get down such a huge percentage, right? There is a lot of sellers, right? And that could still be governing, right, the whole situation for this particular stock. And that's why I mentioned time and again, right, the overall market sentiment is volatile. So what should we do for trading, right? So this is what we mentioned last week, right? So we mentioned a few things, right, for trading, right? We mentioned that it's possible to enter long trade, right, in the short to mid term, but whether is it a short term or mid term trades, right? We should only enter, right? We should only enter when the downtrend line is broken convincingly, right? So that is the key thing, right? It has to break the downtrend line convincingly, right? Yeah, I think I'm not sure whether Financial Missy is there. Financial Missy, are you there? Could you remove that that the banner at the bottom? I think it's blocking some of the words. Yes, great. Thanks, Financial Missy. Right, so so basically, right, that's what I mentioned, right, for short-term or mid-term trades, right, we only enter when the downtrend line is broken convincingly, right? So that is the key thing to take note here, right? If not, we shouldn't actually place a long trade. All right, so what happened ever since then, right? So let's take a look at the past 5 trading days, right, to see what happened, what has transpired for Netflix. So first of all, let's take a look at the monthly chart. right? So this is the same uptrend line, right, on the monthly basis. So over here, right, we can see, right, that it has slightly broken below this long-term uptrend line, right? And this was known as what I mentioned, it has been supported since 2012. So this is not a very good sign, right, for this stock, right? It could imply that more bearish momentum might persist, right, for this stock if this continues, right? So we do have to take note to see whether in the future days or months, right, whether this will continue to persist. Right, and that downtrend line, that hourly downtrend line that we drew earlier, right? So this is the same downtrend line, right? And you can see that it continued to trade below this downtrend line, right? All the way, right, until 28th of April, right? So that's just a few days ago, right, where it actually cleared, right, on this candlestick, right? And there was some slight bounce in price as a result, right? But it has since come back down as well, right? So there was some bounce, right? After it cleared the downtrend line, but we did have to wait a bit longer. It didn't quite clear it, at that time, right? It actually continued to go down further, right? So that that is also something that I need to highlight to everyone, right? That we do have to wait for confirmation, right, of that downtrend line clearing, right, before it enter. If not, the price can just continue going down and down and down, right, forming lower highs, right, and still being resisted by the downtrend line. Right, and the horizontal support, right? So it was, testing the horizontal support then, right? But you can see, as it went down, it actually broke this short-term horizontal support, right? And the price actually went down to a low, right? At this point here was about US dollars 185. And a bullish divergence, right? So it continued to form lower lows, right, in price and higher lows in the RSI, right? So you can see the RSI is trending up all the way. The price is just trending down all the way, right? But although it's a bullish divergence, right? We should wait for more confirmation, right? So the downtrend line was the key, right? So if the price did not beat the downtrend line, right? We shouldn't enter if there was no confirmation of any price reversal. Right, and during the whole period of time, right, MACD were also positive, right? At least on the hourly time scale, right? MACD continued to be slightly positive, right? Not very strongly positive, just slightly, right, throughout this whole period of time. What's the conclusion, right? What's the conclusion we can get from the past trading this week, right? So first of all, right, we shouldn't have entered a long trade, right? Because that key thing, right, as I mentioned last week, is that downtrend line, it has to break convincingly first, right, before we actually enter with a long trade, right? So we eventually it broke, right, but there was a slight rebound, right, but it didn't quite fulfill the conditions as what I mentioned last week, right? So we didn't enter a long trade, right? So with that, right, if you're still interested, right, in entering Netflix, like what should you look out for? Right now that that, right? So as what we saw in the chart, right? It seems like it's going to form, doing a slight retracement now on the hourly time. You have to confirm, right? Now there's a new horizontal support. It might come down slightly, right, below the 185, but we have to see, right, whether it can actually reclaim this support eventually. Right, and that now there's new resistance as well, right? So the first immediate resistance is $205, and the second horizontal resistance is at that previous support level that I mentioned previously, at $210 to $212, right? So these are the two key levels to watch out for, right? If the price makes a bounce back up. Right, but if you are going to do a bottom pick for Netflix, right, do take note, right, that you have to be careful, right? Any impending price reversal might occur, right? It might not also occur, right? So we do have to be careful, and we should only enter, right, with the confirmation on the technical indicators, right? So that is something that you have to watch out for, right? If you're thinking of trading Netflix, right, for the short term. Right. So if you like what I'm sharing so far, right, don't forget to click that like or love button, right? So I know that you are enjoying my sharing and finding value so far. And now, without further ado, right, let's move on to today's stock pick. So as mentioned, right at the very beginning, right, today's stock pick is none other than Alphabet, right, or the parent company of Google, right? So this is the big cap stock, right, we are going to talk about today. Right, so let's look at the overall price chart, right, for Alphabet, right? So this is the overall price chart, since 2021, right, until now. So you can see, price has been picking up all the way, right, hitting highs of close to 3,000 US dollars, right, near the end of last year, right, before price actually starts to make a U-turn back down, right, and since then, right, the last trading price, right, the last closing price was actually about $2,282, right. So it has retraced quite a fair bit, right? So if we actually do a math, right, this was sometime in April, start of April, right? And based on today's prices, it is, a whooping 20% down, right, in just 1 month, right? In just 1 month, we're 20% down. And for such a, company, such a stable stock, right, this is quite a big magnitude, right? So is there opportunity, right? Would there, will buyers come in to support this stock at this price, right? Let's take a look. But before that, let's understand the reasons why this stock actually came down so drastically, right, in just 1 month. So let's take a look at some recent news, right? This is taken from CNBC, right? CNBC.com, quite recently on the 29th of April, right? So in this article, right, it's reported that both the big tech companies like Amazon and Google, right, actually closed their worst month, right, since 2008. And you remember 2008 was the financial crisis, right? So we're not in a financial crisis now, right? But it has been the worst month, right, for Google in this recent times. Right, so it suffered the biggest money decline in April, right? And in fact, right, why they actually suffer this decline is one reason is because they actually reported quarterly results, right, that fell short of Wall Street expectations, right? So the analysts expected them to report stellar earnings yet again, right? So although they did report quite a good set of results, but it wasn't quite as expected, right? It fell short of the expectations, and as a result, analysts start to some people start to sell off this stock, and that might have caused the price of Alphabet to actually drop drastically. And we look into further details of this article, right? So what is mentioned here, right, is that it actually tried to explain some reasons for that weaker than expected quarterly results, right? So there are things that they are actually quite a bit of out of control on their side, right? Because it's basically due to macroeconomic factors, right? As we all know, there's the war in Ukraine, right? As well as the pandemic, right? The COVID pandemic is actually clearing out, right? More people are returning back to work, right? It is getting more and more mild, right? So the catalyst, right, for this stock, during the pandemic has also eroded off, right? So as a result, right, people are staying home less often, right? So they might use the services of these stocks like Google and Alphabet less as a result. Right. So and if we also recall, right, at the start of 2022, right, there was also a rotation out of all those tech companies, right? So Google or Alphabet, right, being a tech company, the biggest, one of the biggest tech companies in the US and in the world, right? They are also of no exception, right? So as they are also being sold off as a result. And why there was a rotation out of tech companies, right? It's also regarding the current situation now. Is what we are seeing. rising inflation and higher interest rates. So basically, right, as a result of rising inflation, right, the Fed is proposing to raise interest rates, right? But as a result, that also, basically makes the tech companies become less attractive, right? And there's also those macroeconomic factors, like the Russia invasion of Ukraine, right? The spike in fuel prices, right? Um, as well as ongoing labor shortage. So all these, right, have hit the company's bottom line, right? And if we zoom in, right, to Google or Alphabet, right, specifically on components, right, on its financial statement, right, it actually mentioned here, right, that Google actually missed its sales and profit, right. It actually reported a huge miss in its YouTube segment, right, and revenue grew just 14%, right. So that's possibly the reason why their last quarter results was less than expected. Right, it was not as good as expected. And we look at another article, which is from fools.com, right? It deals in the further specifics of the quarterly results, right? So for Q1, right, for Alphabet, its revenue of 68 billion rose 23% compared with a year ago figures, right? So it seems pretty good, right? But if we look at the chart, right, it actually represents a bit of a slowdown, right? A slowdown from 34% growth reported a year ago quarter, right? So it's basically because last quarter it was too good, right? It was too fantastic. So this quarter peers in comparison, and even though there was a rise, it was not as good as expected, right? And if we zoom the details, right, particularly here, right, it actually mentions that advertisements, right, or ad sales, right, particularly associated with YouTube, actually experienced a significant slowdown, right, compared to last year, right. And in fact, right, the activity in Russia also weighs on its revenue, right. So that Russia-Ukraine war is also affecting Google as well. And net income fell 8% during this period, and that's also because, right, other income turned in a 1.2 billion expense amid unrealized losses, right? So that's something to take note of. But there also could be opportunity, right? So over here it mentioned that there is this service called Google Cloud. I'm sure all you are familiar with Google Cloud. So it actually mentioned that it lost money with Google Cloud, but then this segment actually generated revenue, right, of 5.8 billion, right, and this was actually 44% more than 4 billion, right, in the year ago quarter, right. So that is something quite promising, right. If this takes off and the revenue continue to grow, right, that could be a huge catalyst for Google, right, or Alphabet, right. So this could actually make the Google Cloud a much larger part of Alphabet, right, or Google in the future, right. And with that sell off, right, the PE ratio is now just 21, right. So if we compare to other cloud rivals, right, like Amazon and Microsoft, right, this is Alphabet is actually much cheaper now, right, at 21 compared to theirs of about 44 and 30, right, of PE ratio. So that's something to take note of, right. The valuation might be seen as cheaper now, right. So there could be some buyers, who are snapping up this good deal, right, in that sense, from a fundamental point of view. And if you've been following the Alphabet news as well, right, you should know, right, that this was quite a big news previously on the stock split, right, of Alphabet, right. So you can see, the stock price is $2,000, right. That is quite a hefty amount, right, if you want to buy one share, right. So what they're proposing to do is to do a stock split, right. So the each share will actually cost a lower amount. So what I propose, right, then, it basically what it is proposing a 20-for-1 stock split, right? And when it take effect, it will actually take effect, on July 15, right? So it's coming soon, right? Today is May the 1st, right? So about 2 months from now. So this is actually, another catalyst, or it could, revive some interest in this stock, right? Or revive more interest in this stock, right? Basically because of a few factors, right? First of all, it would be trading at a lower price, right? As a result, so Alphabet might become eligible, right, to become part of the Dow index, right, a Dow stock, right? So for those of people who actually play index stock, right, yep, there could be more volume coming in as a result, right? Because some people just buy index funds, right? So they will also buy Alphabet as a result, right? And with that could also help in liquidity, right, or boost the volume of Alphabet, right, this particular stock, right? So as of the moment, right, its liquidity is not as good as Apple, right? Apple, if it actually recently split as well, right? And you can see that the volume, per share volume, right, of 1.7 million currently for Alphabet still pales in comparison with Apple, which is about more than 85 million, right? So with more volume, right, more traders or investors might come in, and there could be more catalyst for this stock price as well, right? So additionally, right, one other thing that this stock split, what benefit it can bring about, right, is that small investors, like you and me, retail investors, right, currently we have to purchase partial shares, right, if you want to buy Alphabet stock, right? But if a post split price, right, the whole share will become more affordable for more investors, right? So what's the future direction of Alphabet? To answer that, right, being the trade engineer, I will look at the technical behind it, right? So, as you know, technicals offer some clue, right, of what might happen, right, to Alphabet in the near future. But before I delve into the details, right, if you're enjoying my sharing so far, don't forget to click that like or love button. And without further ado, let's check out the price chart now for more details. Right, so here, first of all, right, this is the daily chart for Google or Alphabet, right? So let's look at this, long-term uptrend line first, right? So this, from 2020, right, all the way to now, and it has been supported, quite a number of times in the past, right? From 2020 over here, and even recently, right, in 2022, it's over here. But you can see that it recently just broke this uptrend line, right, sometime in April 2022. And if we zoom in, right, to that portion, right, over there in recent times, right, you can see that it actually broke sometime on 11 to 12 of April, right, around this period here. And you can see that after that it actually tried to break past this support, this uptrend line, right, but couldn't, right. It tried, it failed, right, so it became turned from support to resistance, right. So it was unable to reclaim this as support, and eventually, right, it became the resistance, too much of a resistance, and actually fell back down. Right, so that's the uptrend line. And we look at the downtrend line, right? This is the short-term downtrend line over the course of a few months, right? You can see that it is currently still resisted by the short-term downtrend line for now, right? Price is still trading below this short-term downtrend line. So ultimately, right, for a price to stage a rebound, it has to break beyond this uptrend line, beyond this downtrend line, right, for further upside, right? If not, downside might just persist. Right, and let's look at that first horizontal support now, right? So it has touched this first horizontal support, right, recently at about 2253 to 2254 US dollars. Right, but you see rebounded back up, right, and trading above it now. So this is the first immediate support for prices, right? If it's not supported convincingly, right, there could be further downside. So this is the first key level to watch, if to see whether price will actually bounce back up or will it fall back down. Right, so if it falls back down, we could be looking at other supports, right? So over here they have the second and third horizontal support. Right, so the second horizontal support, was tested sometime, ago, back in 2021, somewhere around here. And it's corresponding to a level about 2193 to 2194 US dollars. And the third horizontal support is somewhere a bit lower, right? About 2111 US dollars. So it used to be the resistance back in 2021 over here. Let's other support levels to watch out for, right? If the price makes it breaks down further. But on the upside of things, right, if the price stages a rebound, we could be looking at this level as the first horizontal resistance. So this used to be the support last time, right, in the past over here, right? But now it's the resistance, right? So it's about 2520 to 2525 US dollars, right? So that is something to watch out for, right? If the price stage a rebound, breaks the downtrend line convincingly, right? We could be looking at this level, right? And if we put in the simple moving averages, right, specifically the 50-day simple moving average as well as the 200-day simple moving average, right? So this is the 50-day simple moving average, and this is the 200-day simple moving average, right? So you can see, right, that it actually made a cross somewhere here, right, and that was about 9th of March, right? So there's something called a death cross, right, where the 50-day simple moving average actually went below the 200-day simple moving average, right? And since then, it has been trading below the 200-day simple moving average, right? So if this persists, right, it's not very good for the stock. It might actually suggest, it's the bearish momentum might continue, right? So we do have to watch out for this to see whether will it eventually move back up, right? With a gap close up between the 50-day SMA and the 200-day SMA, right? Or will the gap continue to widen as the stock goes down further, right? So we do have to watch out for this, right? To see whether what will happen in the future. Right, and we have the MACD as well, right? So this is the daily MACD, right? It is negative currently, right? So if this continues, downside momentum might persist, right? So we do need to see a crossover, right, where the MACD goes back to the positive region, right? So that we get the confirmation for any possible price reversal. So that's a quick run through, right, of the charts, the daily charts for Alphabet. So let me give a quick summary, right, of the bull and bear arguments for Alphabet. So in the bull side of things, right, it is close to the horizontal support, the first horizontal support now, right? And if it is convincingly supported, right, there could be some slight bounce in prices, right? But there are also some bear arguments as well, right? So first of all, it has been trading below that short-term downtrend line, right, for quite a while. It hasn't broken past that downtrend line yet, and it recently broke the long-term uptrend line, right? And it hasn't crossed that uptrend line ever since. The 50 SMA is still less than the 200-day SMA, right? And we did saw that death cross in March, right? Daily MACD is also still negative, and we haven't seen a crossover to the positive region yet. So what should we do for trading, right? Before I delve into details, right, I'd like to highlight here once again that this is just my own opinion, right? Please do your own due diligence, right, before entering any stock, right? So first of all, we should adopt a wait and see approach first, in my opinion. So we do have to see whether the price manages to clear that short-term downtrend line convincingly, and additionally, right, we have to see the MACD turning positive, right? If it does, we can do a scalp, right? If you're trading, right, and take the first target price, right, or first take profit price at that first horizontal resistance level, right? If not, right, if you do not see that happening, right, do not enter a long position and wait till the support is convincingly supported, right? That is key, right? If not, we might be catching a falling knife. Right, and with that, right, that concludes my quick analysis, quick technical analysis for Alphabet. Right, so if you like our sharing, right, don't forget to click that like or love button, and do give this video a share, right, so that more people can benefit from our sharing. And if you haven't done so already, you can follow us on our social media pages, right, on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, right, pages. FINANCIAlmissy has hers on Facebook and Instagram, so you can follow us on our following handles, right? And you can also leave a comment below on what you think, as well as suggest the next stock for our next sharing. Yep, and we hold this every Sunday for 20 plus sessions now, right? So do join us every Sunday, right, at around 4 p.m. So it alternates between my Facebook page and Financial Missy's Facebook page. Right, and with the current market volatility, right, I thought it's a good time, right, to actually share with you my 3 steps, right, on how to weather the market volatility, right, so that those of you who are investing or trading, right, you're mindful of this, right, and don't avoid making some mistakes, right, that we commonly make, right, in times of market volatility. So I'll paste this link, right, later on, right, in the comments. So you can click on the link and just download it from my PayHip store, right? It's absolutely free, right? I think you just need to key in your email address, right, to download this free copy, right, that I provided for all of you. And before I end off my session, right, just like to also highlight this upcoming session that I have this evening, right, at 9:30 p.m. on the Cryptoverse NFT Investor Facebook group, right? So I also talk about cryptocurrencies, right? So today I'll also be talking about Bitcoin, what to look out for Bitcoin, and how has the past week been for Bitcoin. As well as I'll also be talking about US stocks, right? In particular, the S&P 500 index. What's next for S&P 500? Right, it has been quite a wild week for the US stock market. We have seen quite a big drop in the past 2 weeks, right? So I'm sure some of you might be curious, right, what to look out for in the whole US stock market, right? Is there going to be further downside, or are we going to see a rebound from now on, right? So if you're interested, do come down and join me, right, this evening at 9:30 p.m. on the Cryptoverse NFT, Facebook group, right? And with that, right, I shall hand over the rest of the time to Financial Missy, right?
Right, thank you, the trade engineer. It's very exciting to hear what you have shared with us from Netflix and also with Google as well. But I think we do have some questions from Kel for yourself. The first and foremost, when you were actually sharing about Netflix, you mentioned about bottom pick. So he's actually asking, what do you actually mean by that?
Okay. So bottom picking, right, is something that a lot of people want to do, right? Basically, is trying to pick the stock at the bottom, and hoping that it reverses back up, and you get to take a profit from there, right? But to be honest, you really can't get the absolute bottom, right? So we do have to check, we do have to see the technical indicators, for confirmation, right? So as what I mentioned, we do have to, although there's the bullish divergence at the bottom, we do have to see that that it actually clear that downtrend line, right, before we can actually go in, right? So we won't actually get it at the very absolute bottom, right? We do have to see the confirmation, right, before we actually enter, right? So I think Sharon asked, is Amazon at the bottom pit, right? Is it at the bottom? So as a moment, right, as what as looking at the technical indicators, right, that we can't say for sure, right, it is testing that first horizontal support. So we do have to see whether that first horizontal support actually holds. But as what I point out, there are many indicators that are pointing that there is still bearish momentum still ongoing, right? So that support might not hold, and if that support does not hold, right, we could see new lows, right, for Amazon, right? Oh, sorry, you're talking about
Right.
Amazon, not Google, right? Oh, sorry, I was asking for Google. So Amazon, we do have to also look at that. But I think the chart is pretty similar to Google, right? Right. So we do have to see whether the support actually holds, right, convincingly before we pick the stock, right? So we don't want to actually enter right at the bottom. We do have to see some confirmation first. Yep, and we have another question, right, from Kel. Do correct me if I'm wrong. There are a lot of correction in the market since last year. Is looking at MA to time of entry a very indicator still, as most of the time it will show a downtrend. Right. So we do have to use several indicators as in conjunction, right? So MA, moving averages is one of the indicators that you should use, but you should not use it alone on its own, right? As MA, there are also downsides to it. MA is pretty usually quite laggy, right? It's usually a lagging indicator, right? So we do want to look at other leading indicators, right? So that's why I showed like RSI, MACD, uptrend, downtrend lines. So we have to look at all these indicators in totality, right? Before we actually enter or enter a trade, right? So that is something for to take note, right? We shouldn't just look at one indicator alone, right? To make a decision.
All right. So thank you so much for sharing. Right. Do anybody, I mean, do you guys still have any questions for our trade engineer regarding technical analysis for Netflix or Google Advanced for the case? If there is, please type into the chat and do show him some love by liking this post as well. So let's see, yeah, whether we have anything. All right, so there's nothing.
Yep.
And now I will actually proceed with my section. So I'm pretty sure that all of you guys should know by now that I'm an investor, right? So I like to look at fundamentals, but fundamentals alone is insufficient for us to determine our entry and exit. Reason being, for fundamentals wise, you always want to say that you look at fundamentals and go in under value. But in this day and this era, how many companies are really undervalued? Right? So that's something for us to evaluate and also for us to see whether we can follow the momentum upwards. I wouldn't want to follow downwards because it's too much of an effort to actually track and monitor. I'm an investor here, not a trader. So I only buy upwards, I don't buy downwards, right? So without further ado, let me just share my screen. Share screen. Yeah. So today we'll be talking about Google. All right. Okay. So Google, I'm pretty sure that the trade engineer has actually went through pretty much of it as well. On Friday itself, we saw Google closing at 2,282.19. All right. Oh, sorry. The end of the day is 29 April, not 29 May. So there was a bit of typo over there. I just jumped for it. But nevertheless, on Friday itself, we also see an $88 drop, which equates to 3.72%. On Friday, the market is so red that I didn't even want to look at the market on Friday. I was like, oh no, drop again. But it's okay. Let me go through why later on. First and foremost, a disclaimer is never intended to be a financial advice. So, whatever I am going to share later on is only my personal point of view. Always do your own due diligence because why? I'm always wrong lah, simple as that, right? So you always need to follow a strategy that suits your personality and act on it. All right, you need the confidence and conviction in order to invest successfully or trade successfully as well. All right, there. Okay, I'll just take it as you guys are okay with it, yeah. Because I've been talking about it weekly and weekly and weekly that you need to do your own due diligence. All right. Okay, so macroeconomy sense, what is going on? A lot of things is going on, really. No joke about that. Next up, 3rd to 4th May, you will see what is the interest rate hike for next quarter. Okay, the Fed is going to announce the upcoming hike. Is it going to be a 50 base point hike? Or is it a 75 base point hike as some of the people actually predicted? Or are we already picking the high of the interest rate? Nobody knows. It's an open lead. Anything can happen. But the question is increasing interest rate the way to go to reduce inflation? Think about it. All right. Other than interest rate that is actually affecting the market a lot recently is also this Ukraine Russia war. Right. Now Russia has actually says that they are okay, or rather they do not rule out the possibility of World War III should the West intervene further. Okay, so although China says that they are not supportive of World War III, but Anything can happen, and I really, really want to cautious you guys to actually do your own due diligence. If you guys are going to be in the market, it's going to be very, very, very volatile, right? So no matter what trades are you putting in, if you're doing trading, please put your stop loss. No trading can exist without stop loss, okay? It's very important. And when you are doing investing, like what I'm doing, please do consider following the market momentum. Why? I'm pretty sure most of you who are seasoned here knows this. What goes higher will go higher. What goes lower will go lower. For investors out there, please follow the market momentum and invest accordingly. All right. Only invest in good companies. I cannot emphasize more. Just look at Warren Buffett. All right. He invests in value stocks, good companies. Okay. So please do invest in good companies if you want to be in this in the market right now during this volatility. Because why? In any instance, if you decide to gamble on speculative stocks, it's going to be number one, very volatile. Number two, you will lose money. All right. So please be very cautious over there. All right. I saw Sharon saying that, yeah, stop loss is very important to keep your bullet. Yes. Yes. Okay. Stop loss is very important to keep your bullet. All right. But for investing wise, if you follow the market momentum and you play long run, you'll be able, eventually you will still be able to profit. But the duration is the question is the duration of profitability. Hence, this is something that I really want to conscious you is to play with momentum and exit when you see a signal. Okay? Simple as that. Okay, so the indicator wise, so like weekly on weekly, I've been saying that the market is currently consolidating. It's going to move on trend, the top and bottom, the ceiling and the supporting line, indicated by the dotted line over there. Currently on Friday, you see, yeah, it's a very huge long red bar. Okay, which means to say Friday itself as a plunge, pretty huge plunge, and it went below the bottom dotted line. What does it mean? Okay, very simple. Of course, it will go up two ways. One will go up lah, another one is go down. But you look at the major red line on Monday itself. Okay, the market will go and test the supporting line. Should there be bad news or news that is going to affect the market sentiments? Okay, you will see another probably another bar that goes below the low of Friday, right? Should the market be, decides to consolidate and what's not, they probably linger around the black dotted bottom line and actually linger for there for a while to see whether there's any major news that will break through the support line. Okay? If otherwise, it will just move within range. Right? Okay, that's very important. So although now it's at the support line, please guys, I am not suggesting that you guys should, go into the market on Monday hoping that it will hit the ceiling. Yeah. No, please no. Why? Because Friday is a very major flash down. One day of a very huge solid red line. On Monday itself, unless it hits the higher high of the Friday high. If otherwise, I wouldn't suggest going in. Always look at the candlestick to determine your entry. All right. Okay, it's a bit chim over here lah. Because you do need a bit of fundamentals on how to even read candlestick in order to understand what I mean. Okay. So in any instance, if you guys do not understand what I actually mean, do let me know. I'll try my best to break down into the simplest form so that you guys can understand what I mean. All right. So if you guys got any question, do type in the chat and I see what I can do for you guys. Okay. All right. So what's going to happen on Monday? We will see. Okay, so back to Alphabet, right? Google. I prefer Google to Alphabet. It's easier to say. So Google itself, right? I mean, everybody should know what Google is, what Google does, Google Service, Google Cloud, other bad segments and everything. It's so cool that even my brother's house is like, hey Google, and then you turn on the light, turn off the light, and everything. I guess Google itself is a very solid company that has a very huge growth potential. Even our emails, I'm not sure about you guys. My emails personally is Gmail, Google, right? And Google has a huge range of services. Google Map that I always use, Google Photo, Google Play, Google this, Google that. Everything is Google. Google Drive. Wow. Just so many things. So in that sense, right, Google itself, without looking at the historical financial value, Google itself, we all know that Google is a good company. So I wouldn't go through what exactly does Google do. If you guys are keen to actually understand more about Google, just go and Google search lah. Google. Google search and you will know everything about Google, right? Okay, financially, how is it doing? Same old. We look at three different things: the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. All right. Google is very good. The total revenue, net income, everything has been increasing year on year on year. Awesome. Net profit margin 24.17%. In terms of balance sheet current ratio, more than 1. Awesome. Debt to equity ratio, awesome. Less than 0.5. At 0.41, it's really, really good. The PEG ratio is slightly above 1, which just probably meant that it might be a bit overvalued during the point of evaluation. Whereas cash flow wise, cash from operation increasing, investment, they're doing more investments and doing more financials lah for Google company. The free cash that Google has is steadily increasing year on year on year on year. Google is actually, the fundamentals of Google is actually a very strong company that supports such a huge price. I mean, how many companies do you guys see, right, that is thousands over dollars and it has so solid and it's been a major component of the ETF, right? The as what they say lah, at the FANG stock, the US FANG stock. So Google itself, it's fundamentally it's very strong. So I mean, this is something that we probably don't have to actually delve more into it, right? And in terms of valuation wise, Google based on discount cash flow is currently undervalued because the intrinsic value is about 3.9K. Okay, so I'm not saying that you can enter Google now, yeah. Dear investors out there, I mean Google, although undervalued, please do not enter Google now, yeah. It's important for us to follow momentum also. Okay, so is it a good time to enter? You always want to use technical analysis. That's why for myself, my strategy, I want to combine both fundamental and technical analysis to see whether the number one, the company, is it worth my time monitoring? Number two, to time my strategy because why? There is no way, absolutely no way, we can time the market. We can't time the market, but we can time our strategy. All right, please put that in mind. It's very important. Okay, so let me just pull up this particular chart for you guys. Very simple. I use simple moving average as well. 50, 150. You see the momentum currently is bearish. Okay, if I pull out other moving averages, you will know that short term, medium term, long term, all bearish. All right. Currently, you see, for Google itself, there has been multiple flush down for the past many months. Okay, from end of 2021 all the way to April, you see that Google has pretty much been in range. Not much of a movement, pretty much in range. Thereafter, you see a huge dip. Why a huge dip? Because they actually missed the market sentiment, the correction, as well as the recent earning. Okay. However, right, Google currently, if you see the latest candlestick bar, it's also another huge red one. Is Google going to rebound on Monday? We don't know. Honestly, we don't know. We only know that currently Google is on a bearish momentum. And remember what I say, what goes down can go lower. What goes high can go higher. All right. And I'm not the sort of investor who actually, will advise you guys to short the market, monitor, and do this, do that. Sorry, but it's too much of a hassle for me. I don't have so much time to do all those things. So for investors out there, what I need to advise you guys to do is follow the momentum and invest with confidence and conviction. All right. And last but not most, I have an upcoming webinar coming up on the 20th of May, 8 p.m. Do actually sign up on my link over here. If otherwise, I got a QR code for you guys. On that day itself, I'm going to talk about risk management. How do we manage our risk during a period of volatility, such that regardless of whether the market is up, whether the market is down, whether the market is sideways, you know how to position your strategy and profit regardless of the market volatility. Risk management is very important and especially so during a volatile time. Yeah. And also, I will give you this 3G analysis, right, to actually help you guys easier evaluate whether a company is a good company for you guys to consider investing or not. Okay, and of course, I do give you guys some basic entry and exit rules to actually see and act on. Should you guys be keen? All right, and at the end of the day, of course, I'm going to give you guys a very awesome bonus that you will not be able to find elsewhere. A bonus that will actually help to actually um explain further in detail what my strategy is about and how you can act on based on my strategy. All right. And actually I come to my end of my session right now. Can I actually see whether anybody is actually keen for me to do a very simple fundamental analysis to actually, do a free one for you guys to actually see what is it about? What's a fundamental analysis is about? If you guys are keen for me to do a free session of fundamental analysis evaluation, just do type in the chat, say me, and I will plan one session to go through with you guys on how do we evaluate stocks fundamentally. So I have Kel. Come on, guys. We have 5 people watching. If there's more than half, then I will do it lah. I will do it. If less than half, then probably yeah, hey Kel, thanks. Yep. So if you got more than half, then I will do it. If less than half, then probably I'll see you guys on the 20th to go through. Okay. So I have three out of five is more than half. Awesome. All right, I'll plan a schedule to actually go through fundamental analysis and I'll post it on my Facebook page so that we can actually learn together on how can we actually evaluate stocks fast. I mean companies fast. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning with us. Does anybody have any questions for me so that I can go through for you guys? Yes, no reply. That means no. Okay, so last but not least, right? Do actually type in the chat what you guys would like us to evaluate in our next session next week. And don't forget, next week, our stock weekly stock picking will be conducted on the Trade Engineers Facebook page. And yes, to answer Sharon's a question was yes, our sessions are only every Sunday at 4 p.m. So do tune in with us. Right, we hope to see you here. And of course, although it's at Trade Engineers page, I will be sharing it on my page as well. So do tune in to either of us. You'll be able to watch us live.
Yep. So you can join us every Sunday, right, at about 4 p.m. Right, we'll be live at that time.
Hi. Yes, and we saw one more question. Melissa is asking China tech stocks. Okay, China has a lot of tech stock. Which one are you looking at? Maybe I can help to address that. Welcome, Sharon. Okay lah. Maybe you can type in the chat that I wouldn't hold the others up. So do give us some love, like and share, and follow us, both of us. So see you guys next week. Adios, guys. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye bye.